My devious half-sister secretly slept with my fiancé for months while pretending to help plan our wedding. They laughed behind my back until I projected their affairs during the ceremony. Guests were frozen, my fiancé ran, and she collapsed screaming as her life and lies crumbled in front of everyone. Natalie, 29, and I've been pouring espresso shots at Brewed Awakening, this little coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, for the last 4 years. It's not glamorous, but I love the hum of it, steaming milk, chatter over muffins, the smell of roasted beans. It's my corner of the world. I'm supposed to be getting married in 3 months to Ethan, my fiancé. We've been together 3 years, and I've got a binder stuffed with fabric swatches, seating charts, and cake ideas. I'm trying to make it perfect, but lately everything feels like it's slipping through my fingers. My stepmom, Diane, is the loudest voice in the room, always has been. She's a real estate agent, all sharp blazers and sharper words, and she's got this way of making you feel small without trying too hard. I was 10 when she married my dad, and she brought Bella, her daughter, into the picture. Bella's 25 now, a receptionist at some dental office, with big eyes and a laugh that makes people lean in. I've always tried to get along with her, but it's like we're playing a game I don't know the rules to. Diane's constantly comparing us, Bella's charm, my quirks. I laugh it off, but it stings. The wedding's supposed to be my moment, right? I've been dreaming about it since I was a kid, cutting out magazine pictures of dresses and bouquets. And Sweet usually works as a mechanic, always smells faintly of motor oil. He proposed on a hike last spring, down on one knee in the mud, and I cried so hard I forgot to say yes for a full minute. But lately, he's been off, distracted, always checking his phone, muttering about work stress. I tell myself it's normal, wedding jitters, long hours at the garage. Still, I catch him smiling at his screen when he thinks I'm not looking, and it twists something in my chest. Last week, Diane called a family meeting at her place, which is code for her holding court. Dad was there, quiet as usual, sipping his coffee. Bella was curled up on the couch, scrolling her phone, looking bored. I brought Leah, my best friend since high school, because she's my maid of honor and I needed backup. Leah's a videographer, always lugging around her camera, and she's got this no-nonsense vibe that makes me feel braver. Diane launched into wedding talk, all smiles, but it felt like a performance. Then she dropped it. Natalie, we've been thinking. Bella should be your maid of honor. I froze, my iced tea halfway to my lips. Leah's eyebrows shot up. Wait, what? I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Diane waved her hand like it was no big deal. Bella's family, sweetheart. She's got such a knack for this stuff, planning, speeches, all that. Leah's lovely, but Bella's just better suited. Better suited, the words hit like a slap. Bella looked up, all innocent, like she hadn't been part of this ambush. I'd love to, Nat, she said, her voice sugary, if you're okay with it. I wanted to scream. Leah's been there for me through everything. Breakups, late-night panic attacks, the time I quit college because I couldn't afford it. She's earned that spot, not Bella, who barely remembers my birthday. But Diane kept going, talking about family unity and how it'd mean so much to her. Dad just nodded, avoiding my eyes. Ethan, who'd been weirdly quiet, mumbled something about it being up. I felt cornered, like I was the one being unreasonable. Why does it have to be a thing? I asked, my voice tighter than I meant. Diane sighed, all dramatic, like I was exhausting her. Natalie, don't make this difficult. It's a wedding, not a war. Leah squeezed my hand under the table, and I bit my tongue so hard it hurt. I didn't want to be the bad guy, the one who couldn't share. So I said, fine, whatever. The words tasted like ash. That night, I couldn't sleep. Ethan was passed out, phone glowing on his nightstand. I kept replaying Diane's smirk, Bella's fake sweetness. Was I overreacting? Probably. But it wasn't just about the maid of honor thing. It was how Diane always made me feel like I was less pretty than Bella, less polished, less worthy. And Ethan, he didn't even stick up for me. He just sat there, letting Diane steamroll me. I stared at the ceiling, my chest tight, wondering when I started letting people walk all over me. The next day at the shop, I was a mess, spilling coffee grounds, zoning out during orders. Leah swung by on her lunch break, and I spilled everything. She's trying to take over your whole damn wedding, Leah said, stabbing her straw into her latte. And Bella's eating it up. You gotta push back, Nat. I wanted to, but how? Diane had this way of twisting things, making me the problem. And Ethan wasn't helping. I caught him texting again that afternoon, his thumbs flying, a little smile tugging at his lips. When I asked who it was, he shrugged. Just a buddy from work? I didn't believe him, not really, but I didn't push because I was scared of what I'd find. Instead, I threw myself into wedding stuff, calling the florist, tweaking the playlist, pretending everything was fine. Diane kept texting, suggestions, all framed like she was doing me a favor. More pink in the color scheme because Bella looks great in pink. A shorter veil because Bella thinks they're tacky. I ignored most of it, but it was like she was chipping away at me, piece by piece. Then, at a dress fitting, I saw it. Bella was trying on her bridesmaid dress, twirling for the mirror, and Ethan was there, picking up a tux sample. They didn't know I was watching. She laughed at something he said, her hand brushing his arm, and he didn't pull away. It was quick, over in a second, but it burned into me. My heart pounded so loud I thought they'd hear it. I told myself it was nothing, just Bella being flirty, Ethan being polite. But my hands shook as I zipped up my dress, and I couldn't look at either of them. I'm trying to hold it together, I swear. This wedding's supposed to be the start of something good, something mine, but Diane's voice is in my head, Bella's smile feels like a trap, and Ethan's not acting like the guy I fell for. I don't know what's going on, but it's like I'm standing on a cliff and the ground's crumbling under me. I just want to make it to the altar without falling apart. I was wiping down the counter at the shop, coffee grounds sticking to my hands, when I borrowed Ethan's phone. Mine was dead, and I needed to check the venue's email about table linens. His screen lit up, no password. He'd always been careless like that. I swiped to the email app, but a text notification popped up. From Bella. "Miss you already," it said, with a winking emoji. My stomach twisted. I stared at it like maybe I'd read it wrong. "Miss you?" Why was she texting him like that? I shouldn't have looked, I know that, but my thumb moved before my brain caught up, scrolling through their chat. My hands shook as I read, months of messages, late night, you up, texts, jokes about some bar they'd gone to, a selfie of them at a food truck, her head tilted against his shoulder, his grin too wide. I felt sick, like the floor was dropping out. They were meeting up behind my back, kissing emojis, plans to hang out when I was working late. I scrolled until my eyes burned, each word carving into me. I sat in the break room, door locked, trying to breathe. Was this real? Ethan, my Ethan, with Bella? The guy who'd promised me forever was sneaking around with my stepsister? I kept seeing that photo, her smug smile, his arm around her. I wanted to throw up. How long had I been blind? I thought back to every time he'd been too tired to hang out, every vague excuse about work. All those nights I'd been stressing over wedding favors while they laughed at me, planned their next hookup. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, numb, clutching his phone like it was evidence in a crime show. Part of me wanted to pretend I hadn't seen it, to go back to yesterday when I could still trust him. But I couldn't unsee those texts. I couldn't unfeel the knife in my chest. I had to know how deep this went. That night, I waited until we were home, dishes piled in the sink, TV droning in the background. Ethan was sprawled on the couch, scrolling his phone, probably texting her. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, heart hammering. "Who's Bella to you?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. He looked up, eyes narrowing just a fraction. "What are you talking about?" he said, sitting straighter. I swallowed, my throat tight. "I saw your texts." Lie to me. He laughed, but it was forced, like he was buying time. "You're snooping now. Come on, Nat. It's nothing. She's just friendly." Friendly? I wanted to scream. Instead, I pressed harder. Friendly, like meeting up at midnight? Like sending selfies? His face changed then, a flash of panic before he doubled down. "You're blowing this out of proportion. She's your sister. You really think I'd do that to you?" He stood, pacing, throwing his hands up. "You're paranoid. Wedding stress is making you crazy." It felt like I'd been slapped. Paranoid? Me? I opened my mouth to argue, but he kept going, softer now, like he was trying to soothe a kid. Look, I love you. You know that. Don't make this a thing. He reached for me, but I stepped back. His words didn't match the texts I'd seen, the secrets I'd uncovered. I wanted to believe him. God, I did, but my gut screamed he was lying. I called Bella the next morning, my hands sweaty around the phone. She picked up, all chirpy, like nothing was wrong. Hey, Nat, what's up? I didn't waste time. What's going on with you and Ethan? Silence. Then a little laugh, too high-pitched. What? Oh my God, nothing. Why would you even think that? She sounded so convincing I almost doubted myself. Almost. I saw your texts, I said, my voice flat. Another pause. You're spying on him? That's messed up, she snapped, like I was the one in the wrong. Before I could respond, I heard Diane's voice in the background, and Bella hung up. An hour later, Diane called. I braced myself, knowing it'd be bad. Natalie, what is wrong with you? She started, not even pretending to be calm. Accusing Bella of something so disgusting, she's devastated, and Ethan's humiliated. You need to stop this drama. I tried to explain, but she cut me off. You're jealous, always has been. Bella's not the problem, you are. I hung up, shaking, her words echoing in my head. Jealous, like this was my fault. It was unraveling. Work was a blur, burnt coffee, wrong orders, customers snapping at me. I kept checking my phone, half expecting Ethan to apologize, but he was radio silent. Bella posted a cryptic Instagram story, some quote about toxic people, and I knew it was aimed at me. I felt alone, like nobody would believe me. Leah was the only one who listened, meeting me at a diner after my shift. They're gaslighting you, she said, slamming her fork down. You're not crazy. They're hiding something. I needed more proof. I couldn't confront them with just texts. They'd twist it like Diane did, so I started digging. I checked Ethan's car while he was in the shower, heart pounding like I was some detective. Under the passenger seat, I found a crumpled hotel receipt. 2 nights ago, a place downtown, my name wasn't on it. I shoved it in my pocket, my hands trembling. It wasn't enough to nail them, but it was something, a piece of the truth. Every night I lay awake, replaying everything. Ethan's excuses, Bella's laugh, Diane's venom. I felt stupid for trusting them, for thinking I could have something good without it being ripped away. But under the hurt, something else was growing. Anger. I wasn't going to let them make me the fool. Not anymore. I didn't know how I'd prove it, but I'd find a way. I'd had to, because if I didn't, I'd lose more than a wedding. I'd lose myself. The rehearsal dinner was supposed to be a celebration, but I walked in feeling like I was stepping into a trap. The restaurant was all twinkle lights and clinking glasses, everyone dressed up, pretending to be happy for us. I wore a fake smile, my stomach churning from what I'd found. The texts, that hotel receipt burning a hole in my purse. I hadn't told anyone except Leah, who kept shooting me worried looks from across the room. I wanted to hold it together, to get through the night without breaking, but every laugh, every toast felt like a lie. Bella was glued to Ethan's side, giggling at something he whispered, her hand grazing his arm. It wasn't subtle anymore. I watched them, my chest tight, wondering how I'd ever missed it. Diane was in her element, flitting between tables, playing the perfect host. She'd planned this whole thing, of course, her chance to show off, to make it about her. My dad sat quietly, nursing a beer, like he always did when things got tense. I felt invisible, like I was just a prop in their story. I tried to focus on the food, pushing pasta around my plate, but my head was screaming. Those texts kept flashing in my mind. Her winking emojis, his can't wait to see you, the receipt, proof they'd been somewhere together, laughing behind my back. I'd spent days replaying it, trying to convince myself I was wrong, but I wasn't. They were betraying me, and Diane was probably cheering them on. I couldn't sit there and pretend anymore. I just couldn't. The speeches started, and Diane stood up, glass raised, all smiles. To love and family, she said, her voice dripping with fake warmth. To Bella, who's made this wedding so special. People clapped, and Bella beamed like she'd won something. Ethan nodded along, avoiding my eyes. That was it. The final straw. My hands shook under the table, my heart pounding so loud I thought it'd burst. I stood up, chair scraping, and every head turned. "You need to say something," I said, my voice wobbling. The room went quiet, forks frozen mid-bite. Ethan's face tightened like he knew what was coming. Bella tilted her head, all innocent. Diane's smile faltered. I took a breath, clutching the edge of the table. "Bella's been sleeping with Ethan," the words spilled out, raw and ugly. Gasps rippled through the room. I kept going, my voice louder now. "I saw their texts, months of them, meeting up, lying to my face, and you all just let it happen." Chaos erupted. Ethan jumped up, red-faced, stammering. "That's not true, she's lying." Bella burst into tears, burying her face in her hands, sobbing like I'd slapped her. Diane marched toward me, eyes blazing. "How dare you," she hissed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're unhinged, Natalie, jealous of your own sister." The word made my skin crawl. I opened my mouth to argue, but she kept going, voice rising. "You've always been like this. Petty, dramatic. You're ruining everything." I looked at Ethan, waiting for him to back me up, to admit it. But he just shook his head, muttering, "You're crazy. Crazy," that word again. Bella was still crying, people whispering, phones coming out to record the mess. My dad stared at his plate, like he could disappear into it. I felt like I was drowning, like the air had been sucked out of the room. "I have proof," I said, my voice cracked. "A receipt, I'm not making this up." But nobody was listening. Diane was already spinning it, telling everyone I was stressed, unstable. I wanted to scream, to make them see. I fumbled for my purse, thinking I'd pull out the receipt, but Diane grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. "Sit down," she whispered, low and cold. "You're embarrassing yourself." I yanked away, tears burning my eyes. I looked around. Friends, cousins, people I'd known for years, all staring like I was the villain. Leah was the only one who moved, standing up, ready to jump in. But I shook my head. I couldn't do this anymore. I turned and walked out, my heels clicking on the floor, every step heavier than the last. The cool night air hit me and I gasped, like I'd forgotten how to breathe. Leah caught up, her arms around me before I could collapse. "You did the right thing," she said, fierce. But it didn't feel right. It felt like I'd lost everything. My fiancé, my family, my dignity, all gone in one night. I leaned against her car, sobbing, the kind of crying that hurts your whole body. Back home, I locked myself in the bathroom, Ethan's stuff still scattered everywhere, his razor, his stupid body spray. He didn't come after me, nobody did, except Leah, who texted to check in. My phone buzzed with messages from Diane, blaming me, saying I'd destroyed the family. Bella posted some vague quote online about betrayal, and people were eating it up, siding with her. I kept replaying it. Ethan's denial, Bella's tears, Diane's venom. They'd turned it all on me, made me the bad guy. I was humiliated, alone, my whole world flipped upside down. But under the hurt, something else was stirring. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wrong. They thought they could bury me, but I wasn't done. Leah's words stuck with me. "You're not crazy." She believed me. That was enough to keep me going, to make me want to fight. I didn't know how yet, but I'd find a way to make them face what they'd done. I was done crying. Done feeling like I'd been punched in the gut every time I thought about that dinner, their lies, the way they turned everyone against me. I sat on my couch, staring at the crumpled hotel receipt, those damning texts saved on my phone. I wasn't going to let them win, not this time. I needed to fight back, not with tears or shouting, but with something they couldn't twist, something undeniable. Leah came over the next morning, her laptop stuffed with files, her eyes lit up like she was planning a heist. "We're not letting them get away with this," she said, tossing her bag down. She'd been digging too, pulling threads I hadn't even thought of. She showed me a photo from a mutual friend's Instagram. Bella and Ethan at a bar, cozy in a booth, timestamped the same night he'd told me he was working late. My stomach twisted, but it wasn't pain anymore. It was fuel. "We need more," I said, my voice steady for the first time in days. "Something that'll shut them up for good." We spent hours piecing it together. I went through my phone, screenshotting every text I'd seen before Ethan could delete them. Leah hacked into Bella's public Venmo, sloppy of her to leave it open, and found payments to Ethan for drinks and taxi. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was building a case nobody could ignore. The wedding was in 2 days. Diane had invited half the town, turning it into her personal stage. I knew that was my moment. They expected me to slink away, to let them rewrite the story. No way. I wasn't just going to call them out again. I was going to make sure everyone saw the truth crystal clear, no room for their spin. Leah had an idea, one so bold it made me nervous. "We project it," she said, grinning. "The texts, the receipts, the photos, right there during your speech. They won't know what hit them." I hesitated. It was risky, public, permanent. People would talk for years. But then I thought about Bella's fake tears, Ethan's smug denial, Diane's nails digging into my arm. They'd humiliated me in front of everyone I cared about. They didn't get to walk away clean. "Let's do it," I said, my heart racing, not with fear, but with something else. Control. For once, I was calling the shot. We planned it like a mission. Leah would handle the tech, rigging a projector to a laptop she'd bring to the venue. I'd give a speech, short and sweet, to keep everyone's eyes on me. Then, when I gave the signal, she'd hit play. I spent the night before practicing in front of my mirror, keeping my voice calm, my hands still. I didn't want to look angry or desperate. I wanted to look like someone who knew exactly what she was doing. "You've got this," Leah texted late, when I couldn't sleep. "They're done." I kept it secret, even from my dad. I wanted to tell him, to warn him, but I couldn't risk Diane finding out. She'd been texting me non-stop, fake concern mixed with barbs. How I needed to move on, how I was breaking the family apart. I didn't reply. Let her think I was beaten. Let them all think I'd show up to the wedding broken, ready to play along. I was done being their doormat. The day before, I went to the venue alone, just to walk the space. It was all decked out, white flowers, fairy lights, everything I'd picked out months ago when I still thought this was my happy ending. I stood where I'd stand tomorrow, imagining their faces when the truth hit. My hands didn't shake, my voice didn't crack when I whispered my speech to the empty room. I felt something new, strength, maybe, or just the kind of anger that burns cold and clear. Leah and I met that night to finalize everything. She'd formatted the evidence into slides, clean and brutal. Texts first, then the receipts, then the photos. No commentary, just the raw truth. "It's like a power form from hell," she said, laughing, but her eyes were serious. "You sure you're ready?" I nodded. I was terrified deep down, but not of them. I was scared of what came after. But I couldn't think about that yet. I had to focus on tomorrow. I barely slept, but when I did, I didn't dream of Ethan or Bella or Diane. I dreamed of me, standing tall, saying what I needed to say. When I woke up, my phone was quiet, no texts, no apologies, just silence. Good. They thought they'd won. They thought I'd fold. I got up, made coffee, and stared at the dress hanging in my closet. It wasn't about the wedding anymore. It was about me. Taking back what they'd tried to steal. My voice, my truth, my life. By the time I was ready to leave, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I was steady, like I'd been waiting for this moment forever. Leah was right. We had this. They'd built their lies so carefully. But I was about to tear it all down. Not with drama or screams, but with facts they couldn't dodge. I didn't know what people would say after, or how I'd feel when it was over. All I knew was I wasn't backing down. Not now, not ever. The moment I stepped into the venue, my heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. The room was a blur of flowers and faces, everyone dressed up, expecting a fairy tale. I walked down the aisle, my dress rustling, every eye on me. I felt like I was moving through water, slow and deliberate, carrying the weight of what I was about to do. Bella stood near the front, all smiles, holding out the bouquet like nothing had ever happened. I looked at her, then at Ethan, his tie crooked, his jaw tight. Diane was in the crowd, beaming, thinking she'd won. I took a breath and set the bouquet down on a chair. That was my signal. I turned to the guests, my voice clear, louder than I expected. I need to say something before we start. Whispers rippled through the room, but I didn't falter. I nodded to Leah, who was ready at the back, her finger on the laptop. The screen behind me flickered to life, and there it was. The first slide, a screenshot of their texts, blown up for everyone to see. Bella's "miss you" with a wink. Ethan's reply, "soon, babe." Gasps filled the air, sharp and sudden, like a wave crashing. I didn't look at them. I kept my eyes on the crowd, watching their faces shift from confusion to shock. The slides kept coming, the hotel receipts circled in red, that bar photo, their arms tangled, no mistaking it, a Venmo payment for drinks, dated the night he'd lied to me. The room was chaos now, people whispering, some standing to get a better look. Bella let out a sob, loud and dramatic, but it didn't work this time. Ethan bolted for the side door, his footsteps echoing, but it was too late. The truth was out, and no amount of running could undo it. Diane tried to push through the crowd, yelling, "Turn that off," but Leah stood her ground, arms crossed, daring her to try. I spoke again, my voice cutting through the noise. I deserved better than lies, than betrayal. I'm done letting people walk over me. That was it. No screaming, no tears. Just the truth, plain and final. I turned and walked out, head high, leaving the screen still glowing behind me. The crowd parted, nobody daring to stop me. Leah caught up outside, her grin fierce. "You were epic," she said, squeezing my arm. I managed a shaky laugh, but I didn't feel epic. I felt raw, like I'd ripped open a wound but finally let it breathe. I moved out that week, packing my stuff while Ethan was gone. I didn't leave a note, but there was nothing left to say. I crashed with Leah for a bit, then found a tiny apartment, all mine, with creaky floors and a view of a brick wall. It wasn't much, but it was honest. I quit the coffee shop not long after, tired of the grind, and got a job at a bookstore down the street, shelving novels, recommending mysteries to old ladies. It was quiet, healing, like I was rebuilding piece by piece. Word got around, as it always does. Ethan was alone now, bouncing between dead-end jobs, his charm not enough to save him. Bella lost her shine. Friends dropped her, her social media went silent. Diane's reputation took a hit. People whispered about her at parties she used to run. I didn't gloat. Didn't check their profiles to see how far they'd fallen. I didn't need to. Knowing they'd face their own mess was enough. My dad called a few times, his voice heavy with guilt. I wasn't ready to talk, not yet. He'd stood by while Diane tore me down, and that hurt almost as much as the rest. Maybe one day I'd sit down with him, hear him out, but I wasn't rushing. I was learning to protect myself, to choose who got my time. Leah was my rock, always dragging me to dive bars or bad movie nights, reminding me I wasn't. She'd saved me, in a way, and I'd never forget it. Months later, I was shelving books, sunlight slanting through the shop's windows, when I realized I was humming. Humming, like some cheesy movie character. It hit me hard. I was okay. Not perfect, not fixed, but okay. I'd lost a lot that day at the venue, but I'd gained something too. Me. The me who didn't apologize for existing, who didn't shrink to make others comfortable. I'd spent so long trying to fit into their story. Diane's, Bella's, Ethan's, when I should have been writing my own. I still carried scars. Nights when I'd wake up, heart racing, hearing Diane's voice calling me jealous. Or Ethan's, "You're crazy." Trust wasn't easy. I flinched at new people, waiting for the catch. But I was trying. I went on a date recently, some guy from the bookstore who liked sci-fi and bad puns. It wasn't love, but it was a start, a reminder I could still feel something good. If you're reading this, maybe you've been through it too. Someone making you feel small, stealing what's yours. I'm not saying you need a big showdown, a screen flashing secrets. But you deserve to stand up, to say, enough. I did, and it didn't fix everything, but it saved me. I'm here, still figuring it out, still humming sometimes. That's enough for now, right? You'd do the same, I bet. Find your way back to... If this hit close to home, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and let's talk. I'm here, and I listen.